Welcome to the Tinderbox podcast, where we amplify marginalized voices and spark actionable change to build healthier communities. I'm your host, Mr. Russell. And in conversations about health disparities and inequities, we often focus on access to quality healthcare, fresh foods, and safe housing. In this episode, we turn to another essential piece of that work, and that is how communities build leadership, partnerships, and shared vision needed to create lasting change. To explore that question, I'm joined with Reverend Dr. Reginald Blunt, co-founder and executive director of the Oikos Institute for Social Impact, a nonprofit that equips faith-inspired leaders and impact investors to take an access-based approach to social impact. But before we begin, I want to give you a snippet of Dr. Blunt's resume to offer a perspective of his passion and his preparation for this work. Reverend Dr. Reginald Blunt serves as the Murray H. Liefler Associate Professor of Formation and Leadership and Culture, and as Director of the Center for the Church and the Black Experience at Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary. He earned a BS degree from Tuskegee University and a Master's of Divinity from Chandler School of Theology. And he has his PhD from Northwestern University in cooperation with Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary. He is also an elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. As co-founder and executive director of the Oikos Institute of Social Impact, Dr. Blunt helps to build supportive ecosystems that strengthen the capacity of faith communities to drive communal transformation and economic renewal. Oikos was designed to help communities discern their identity, imagine new possibilities, and translate those visions into meaningful social impact. We are conducting this interview at the conclusion of a social impact summit that was held today at Grant Church AME, Chicago, in the Bronzeville community. So welcome to the Tinderbox podcast, Dr. Blunt.
Thank you, Reverend Michigan. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And I want to start with start off by giving our audience a little bit of a sneak peek behind that social impact summit that both you facilitated it and I was part of that group, never having gone through that facilitation before, and give them a little bit of a back of the scenes, a back of the house look as to that social impact summit, what that entails.
Well, today we had the opportunity to explore the theme of the power of imagination with a subtitle of Blooming Where You Are Planted. And we started off talking about Bible study, really. Jesus walking with his disciples through Caesarea Philippi, and he asking them the question, who do you say that I am?
Yeah.
And Jesus got replies, various answers. The final one, when he asked the question of his disciples directly, who do you say that I am? Their answer was, you're the Messiah, Son of the living God. So I posed the same question to the group of folk who made up the summit, who participated in the summit, and asked if Jesus was in front of you, how would you answer the question? And y'all answered the question the same way Peter answered, which I affirmed, which y'all were right on target. But I followed up with another question.
Yeah.
And that other question was, out of all that you have named, what can you emulate? And there was a little bit of a pause.
There was, right?
As folk reflected on that.
Yeah.
Which is also understandable.
Yeah.
Because many of the answers that we give related to who Jesus is leans more into Jesus's divinity.
Yeah.
And that's great. But I use as a definition of discipleship being an emulator of the teacher. And so if we really are going to be a disciple, meaning being an emulator of the teacher,
Mhm.
then it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, to emulate Jesus's divinity.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up that silence, right? And what I noticed was there was no rushing to feel anything in that silence. People actually did pause for a minute.
Mhm.
And that was refreshing to be in that space where no one felt like they needed to fill it with an answer immediately, that they really did embrace that reflection and wanted to be, I'm going to use the word intentional about maybe how to answer that, because they gave themselves room and space to really think through that very powerful question that you posed to us, based upon how you tied it to scripture and how we understood that scriptural verse that we started off with, um, and then what it meant to us personally.
Yeah. And I was even more grateful with some of the answers that were shared because they weren't all divinity
No,
answers.
no.
They did speak to Jesus's care,
Mm-hmm,
Jesus' compassion,
mm-hmm,
Jesus' commitment to healing, restoration,
mm-hmm.
and those things we can lean into.
Yeah.
And so, what I shared with the group is that if we allow ourselves to lean into our faith that teaches us that Jesus was both fully human and fully divine, to be an effective disciple means to ask the question, what did Jesus do while Jesus walked
Mm-hmm.
amongst us, modeled for us, and then told us to go and do likewise?
Yeah. And I love again the title of imagination. Um, and for me, there's tentacles to playfulness that I think as we get into adulthood, we forget how to be playful with a whole host of different things that really can inform us in moving forward and limiting, I'm going to say, our apprehension, right? That wonderment, that awe, that creativity, I think was one of the words that kind
Yeah.
of bubbled
Yeah.
up, and to imagine what possibly could be, right? And so, experiencing that, I'm just curious about your journey of creating oikos
Mhm.
and how what happens in these rooms with all these different disparate voices. How does that, what's that impetus for you with the work that you've created with this project?
So Oikos was started June of 2020
Okay.
with my co-founder, Dr. Sidney Williams, out of New Jersey, out of our desire to help congregations, what we call harness the power of their assets,
Mm-hmm.
so that particularly those who are serving in under-resourced communities,
Yeah.
to harness the power of their assets to be able to make greater social impact in the communities that they serve. Um, we often share that we don't see our job as the helping to save churches. Now
Yeah.
that tends to set people aback a minute, but
Sure.
there are enough organizations out there to help folk to put roofs on their church and fix a boiler
Yeah.
and this, that, and the other. Our commitment is to social impact,
Mm-hmm.
and we believe faith communities play a vital role in making that happen,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in our under-resourced communities. And, even with our summit today, it was hopefully lifting up that congregations who take the time to really imagine possibilities can be able to look beyond scarcity thinking, can look beyond survival mode,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to see what's possible,
Yeah.
to be able to really contribute to the thriving and flourishing of their communities.
Yeah. And I love the intentionality of those two words of scarcity, and that scarcity mindset, right? Um, of we have to, people feeling that they have to do ministry one certain way. That's always been the standard. I guess I would use that
Mhm.
word. And giving space to, again, be very creative about what it means to be impactful. I know that word was lifted up a lot today of impacting, and really looking at what we do to be impactful, not to do things to people, but to care for people, to change their lives for the better.
And to lean a little bit more into the scarcity piece, we have discovered in our work, and we're now working in 8 different cities,
Mm.
uh, partnering with about 100 congregations so far, that as we are helping them to begin thinking through ways that they can scale the impact in their communities, these are also churches that, in the same vein, are in survival mode. Sometimes scarcity mindset is at work, and we've discovered that survival mode and scarcity mindset robs congregations of the power to imagine,
Yeah.
which is the other reason why this was titled today, The Power to Imagine.
Yeah.
How do we help congregations re-embrace, reclaim the power to imagine?
Yeah. I love that, reclaiming the purpose, and the meaning for ministry to again impact people's lives, because let's be very honest, we're living in very traumatic times, and we're
That's an
living.
understatement.
That's a real understatement of all the different things that are coming at various different communities that have disparities, and they are now exacerbated. And one of the things with regards to the podcast is to bring awareness to resources that are out here to help us navigate through the gauntlet of things that are happening, and to find purpose and meaning differently with the assets that we have. And I see that in Oikos.
And we use a particular model that my co-founder helped to shape in his doctor of ministry
Okay.
project that we call FISH. Uh, and so our tagline is that we help congregations fish differently. But FISH stands for financial capital,
Okay.
intellectual capital, social capital, and human capital. Financial capital is one, recognizing that you have more available to you than what you see in your collection plate. But financial capital also means that you also have financial assets that you probably tend to overlook. Your building is a financial asset.
It's an asset.
The different services that you might provide that may end up producing financial resources for you. So that's an asset. But another asset that you have is intellectual capital. And for us, intellectual capital is the people that you have sitting right there in your pews who have gifts and talents and spheres of influence that often go untapped because we haven't taken the time to know the story of the folk who are sitting right there.
We don't take the time to know the story of people, do we? We come in, we're transactional. We come in, we've got an agenda, service starts at this time, everybody sits in the same space, and only some people might say something for a period of time, but we don't go in depth as to find out what happens to them afterwards.
And I would want to make the argument that that's the problem with Christianity today.
Okay, yeah.
We're not really being Christian.
We aren't, are we?
Because Christianity is a relationship religion.
Yeah.
It's not a transactional
It's not.
religion. At least not supposed to be.
Not supposed to be. Building of community.
It's about community. It's about the whole notion of the body of Christ is relational.
Yeah.
And so when we, as our ancestors would say, take on Babylonian ways.
That part, right?
Then when we take on the ways of the world, then we make everything transactional, and we miss the opportunity. We miss the vital resources that are available to us if we only took the time to know the stories that would then reveal the gifts, reveal the talents, reveal the spheres of influence that our people have that can be leveraged to do the ministry that God is calling the congregation to do.
And our culture is replete with storytelling. That is foundational to who we are and how we passed on knowledge and
Mhm.
passed on recipes and passed on experiences. And we've moved away from that storytelling
Mhm.
and sharing of those things because there's such uniqueness, whether it be geographically or by where you go to church or how you were raised, or all those different types of things that have so much that has taught us that now we're deficit. It's a deficit for us with regards to having the curiosity of who this person is.
Right.
In my line of work, we call it understanding the human document, right? Engaging with the human document because there's so much there to just pause and have that time to,
And because it's so important,
yeah.
one of the initiatives that Oikos is engaged in, and we're grateful for a significant grant that we have received
Mhm.
to do so, is to tell the story of congregations that are 300 members and smaller who are doing phenomenal work in their communities,
Awesome.
who are engaged in significant social impact, but whose stories never get told.
Yeah,
And so our project is called Hidden Congregations.
that's awesome.
And so we want to tell the story of hidden congregations and their impact. And we want to do so not just to highlight these phenomenal congregations,
Mhm.
which is significant and important in and of itself, but we also want to offer a model to other congregations who are their size or smaller to be able to see what's possible. Because oftentimes the only example they have is that of a mega church,
Yeah,
and they shut off their imagination immediately
immediately. Yeah,
because they say, well, we don't have the same resources
yeah,
that they do, so we can't do what they do.
yeah.
But to be able to see the stories of folk who have utilized the folk that they have,
Mhm.
whether that's 300 members,
Mhm.
75 members, 50 members, 30 members, and still do phenomenal work. We want to be able to share those stories so that other congregations have examples. And here's the reality:
Mhm.
there's about 250,000 congregations out in the United States.
Okay.
80 to 90% of them are 75 members or below.
That part.
Yeah,
We think everyone is a mega church, and
that's
they are
right.
not.
Or we think that the success metric is to
Is it?
be a mega church.
Yeah.
And we then feel like we're failing when we can't reach that.
Mhm. Mhm. There was this experiment that was done on TikTok last year where this person called a variety of different churches um, uh, requesting a need. And it was to help feed a baby. And it was the mega churches that um, put them through the gauntlet of, well, you need to call back at this particular time
Mhm.
because that ministry is only available at these particular moments in time. And it was a smaller church that stayed on the phone with this individual and said, we can meet that need,
Yeah.
come on in. And just that social experiment of testing out how ministries respond and what their assets are, what their resources are, what they can gather together to meet that need for that individual right there. That's what I hear in the beauty of the work that
Yeah.
you're doing.
And I am sure that they could have also called a mega church who would
Sure,
have been right there
sure,
ready to do it.
sure.
But again, the reality is the majority of our congregations that are out there who have the pulse of the community,
Mhm.
know what's going on, has built the social capital with the people,
Yeah, that part.
who have been what I call anchor institutions
Mhm.
in their area. They've been there for a while. People of the community have come to depend upon them. These are the ones that need a lot of uh, additional support to be able to scale the work that they need to continue to help their communities
Yeah.
flourish.
And so does that fit in what you've just laid out for our audience? Does that fit in from where the name came from, Oikos?
Exactly. Oikos means household.
Mhm.
And so, what does it mean for us to really have a strong and flourishing household, strong and flourishing community, strong and flourishing neighborhood? Yes.
I love that. And I'm going to have you guys, as an assignment, look that up in scripture, find out where it is. But I love that when I looked at the name of the organization and that meaning, that connection of it, and to have that be my word for it, your foundation, the rock of what you're trying to do, and inviting churches to look at themselves that
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
To imagine
To
to
imagine.
imagine
That's right.
themselves that way. So tell me something else that you are doing with the project, with churches, that is on the horizon for you all. Is there some newer things that you're investigating with how you can be impactful or help people be impactful with the assets that they have? Some things that maybe have come up out of the summits that you hadn't really thought about when you started the organization.
So I mentioned to you we have this storytelling
Mhm.
project that we're going to be doing,
Yes.
and we're looking to work with 20 tell the story of 20 congregations.
Okay.
That would include developing a case study for that on that congregation,
Awesome.
doing a 15-minute documentary
Okay.
on that congregation that we will then also pass on to that congregation to utilize
Mm.
to be able to get their story out to their various networks. Uh, and at the conclusion of our 20, we're going to do a composite that we hope will be like a 90-minute film
Wow.
that we would be sharing about hidden congregations that we hope to be at film festivals and things
Yeah.
of that nature.
Yeah.
Again, being able to expand the audience to know about what's happening in our various communities.
Yeah.
We are also, along with, as we talked about 20 congregations,
Mhm.
we are focused on 20 cities. So we
Okay.
have a 20 city initiative that we want to go deep. We want to go deep in these 20 cities.
Mhm.
So not just doing a and we do our works through a cohort system.
Okay.
So not just doing a cohort in different places, different individual cities, but thinking about these particular 20 cities. And these 20 cities that we have chosen are 20 cities that have experienced uh, a tremendous amount of gentrification
Okay.
and have run the risk of Black neighborhood displacement.
That is a
And
huge thing.
usually
Yeah.
the last folk to leave is the church.
Yeah.
And so, how do we find ways to strengthen the churches in these neighborhoods that are experiencing gentrification,
Mhm.
um, to still to one be able to stay, but not just stay, but to thrive,
Yeah.
and to you know the gentrification may be inevitable, but the displacement doesn't have to be inevitable.
Yeah.
How can we teach them to be able to be at the table and partner with the powers that be so that together
Mhm.
they are helping to revitalize the community and make it strong again
Mhm.
and not have to leave?
Yeah. And for me, some of this um, is from our history of how we used to function.
Hmm.
And we moved away from those foundational learnings of what made us a resource, a trusted and safe resource
Hmm.
for our community, that offered the things that we were in need of because no one else was going to do that for us. And so, besides the gentrification piece, what are some of the other barriers that you see that are rearing their ugly head, or very active in spaces of worship not being able to get back to this foundational, I'm going to use the word that we're very familiar with, mutual aid,
Hmm.
with regards to community?
So I'll start with, the one that might rub some folk the wrong
That's
way.
fine. We like rubbing people. We like setting things on fire. Tinderbox. That's
That's it. That's it.
it.
So first, I think uh, sometimes we get in our own way.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, we have decided that the only way that work can be done is if we do it.
Mm.
And so we do all of our work in silos.
Hmm.
And I can't find in scripture where we're called
No.
to do our work in silos. We just got through talking about the importance of relationship.
Yeah.
And so this is not just relationship inside the four walls, but it's also building relationships in the community
Mhm.
where we are. We talked about in the summit today, Jeremiah 29:7, seek the peace and prosperity, or another way the Hebrew of that is shalom.
Mhm.
Seek the shalom of the city from where you find yourself planted. And if that city prospers, if that community prospers, if that neighborhood prospers,
Yeah.
then you prosper.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for us as congregations to recognize that if we are seeking the welfare, if we're seeking the shalom of the community where God has us planted,
Mhm.
if they prosper, we
We
prosper.
prosper. Yeah.
And so we get in our own way. We do our work in silos when we really need to be finding ways to be in relationship. That also kind of speaks to the S in fish,
Mhm.
social capital.
Okay.
How are we building social capital?
Mhm.
The other piece is, and this once again speaks to partnerships. How are we connecting with the funding sources
Mhm.
that are in our community?
Mhm.
Um, Recognizing that this too is a relationship building process.
Yeah.
We often think that we have a money problem when in reality we have a mission problem.
Mhm.
If we're very clear about our mission and can articulate our mission, there are funding sources who are in alignment with the mission that you're striving
Yeah.
to address. So if you see that if your calling is to address food insecurity
Mm.
in your community, and you're clear about how you're choosing to approach
Mhm.
addressing food insecurity, there's funding sources out there that
Yeah.
is aligned with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with communal health, same with affordable housing.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's being clear about your mission, being able to articulate what that mission is, and then identifying the right partners
Mhm.
to walk alongside you in those efforts.
And out of that, I hear that intersection of faith and leadership and social action and understanding some of the disparities that are
Mhm.
out there and figuring out what is that thing that um, you asked the question in the summit, what does the church do well, right?
Mhm.
And figuring out what that is, and then moving from what you do well to that being your mission, your focus, right?
Uh, I didn't raise this in the summit, but just as we believe that every individual has a calling,
Yeah,
I believe congregations have a calling
I love that.
as well.
Yeah,
And so, if I could then bring in a little bit more of the uh, organizational
yeah,
development work,
yeah.
I'm a great fan of a guy named Simon Sinek.
Okay.
And Simon Sinek uh, says that we should always begin by asking our why.
Mm.
What is our why?
What is our why?
We tend to know what we do. We even have a
Sometimes.
sense of
Yeah,
knowing how we do it.
yeah.
Um, but at the core,
Hmm.
it's what's your why?
Yeah.
And the why is about purpose.
Hmm.
The why is about calling.
Hmm.
And if we're clear about our why, everything else falls into place.
Hmm.
So every congregation has its own purpose and why.
Yeah.
Today, I think I used the language of superpower.
You did, yeah. Yeah.
That being able to say, so what is the congregation's
Superpower,
superpower?
yeah.
And I think I also asked another question of what is it that you do well that at the moment you're not sharing?
Mhm, mhm. I love how that question was phrased, right? Because again, there was that pause there of,
Yeah.
gosh, gotta really think about that. Don't know, huh? Not really sure. Yeah,
You've been given certain gifts.
yeah.
You've been given a superpower or
Mhm,
two.
mhm.
What is it?
Yeah,
And are you sharing it?
yeah.
Because we're not called to hoard our calling.
There's a lot of hoarding going on, isn't it? It's a lot of barriers that we
It
impose upon
is.
ourselves
It
and
is.
keeping people out and versus welcoming and again building community and learning from the vast gifts and talents that community offers.
You know, a word that emerged in our conversations today that I have found fascinating is isolation.
Yes, yes. Hmm.
And I think that that is, I've used the language of silos,
Hmm.
but I think that that's also a great descriptor of how some congregations have behaved in their own communities.
Yeah.
They've isolated
Isolate.
themselves
Hmm.
from the folk.
Yeah.
The question I didn't ask in our summit today is that how damaging has the isolation been?
Yeah.
Because if you close your doors today, will the people miss you?
That part. Or do they even know you exist?
In your current, yeah, I was a former pastor, and I remember walking the neighborhood after being appointed
Hmm.
to my congregation, and had an opportunity to talk with some folk, and saying, "Well, I'm the pastor of this particular church,"
Hmm.
and they said, "Well, where's that church?"
Where is it? Right, right down the street.
And yeah, we're near this elementary school. Well, I know where the elementary school is.
Yeah.
And the church had been there longer than the
Wow.
elementary school.
Wow.
But people knew where the elementary school was,
Yeah.
but they didn't know that there was a church on the other corner. And so sometimes, intentionally or unintentionally,
Hmm.
we create this isolation from the community
Yeah.
where God has planted us.
Yeah.
And the reality is, God has planted us there for a reason.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that isolation, um, fear, trauma,
Hmm.
doubt,
Hmm.
all those different types of feelings that um, we don't necessarily address. And it causes us to act and live differently than what God has called us to live and act and to be.
Well, I agree. This is where I'm going to get in trouble again.
Okay.
Uh, I don't want you to tell me that your why is to save souls. That's a
Oh my
given.
gosh, right?
That's a given.
That's a given.
I want you to tell me that God is giving you a vision for this community,
Mm,
and that you have a greater sense of what that is,
yeah,
and that you're striving to live that out,
yeah.
because that's why you're planted there. Seek the welfare of the
Of
city,
the city.
and when they prosper, you prosper. God is giving you a calling
Hmm.
for the community
Hmm.
that you are serving. Plant yourself, bloom where you're planted.
Bloom where you planted. Oh my gosh. So I want our audience to know how to get in contact with you if they want to become part of one of your future cohorts or want some resources from Oikos. So let them know how they can get in contact with you.
Sure. So I would direct you to www.oikosinstitute.org. And that's where you'll find more information about us and the work that we do. Also want to share that we are holding a national conference
Okay.
that will be held in Philadelphia, September 9th through the 11th. And this conference brings together faith leaders, impact investors,
Mm.
those who are committed to the work of social impact,
Hmm.
as an opportunity for folk to network. And there are three themes that run through that conference, which is imagination,
Hmm.
uh, impact,
Yeah.
and innovation. And we explore those areas. And we would love to have you come out. And we tend to begin to uh, build cohorts,
Okay.
one based on when we have the funding
Sure.
to do it,
Yeah.
because our congregations don't pay to be a part of the cohort.
Say that again so they can hear
Our congregations
that.
don't pay to be a part of the cohort
Okay.
except for time
Yeah.
and energy and commitment. And so, and we'll be creating new cohorts within the 20 cities. So
Okay.
some of that information, I believe, is on our website as well.
Okay, awesome. And we will connect the website to our YouTube channel so that persons can click on there and find your resources and
That'd be great.
information. And also on our Instagram page as well, the Tinderbox Instagram page. So we'll put up a connection for that as well to get the resources out, right? So I have one last question that I want to ask you, and that is looking ahead, what gives you hope about the future?
That is a really great question. And it can be challenging
Mhm.
on various days.
Sure.
Um, but what gives me hope is that there's nothing new under the sun.
There isn't, is there?
We've been here before,
We have.
and God has saw us through. Uh, and dare I say, if nobody understands this well, Black folk understand this well.
Yeah.
We've been here before.
Yeah.
So my hope is the same God
Same God.
who saw us through
Absolutely.
in the past is still the same God
Still the same one.
that will see us through this.
Amen. On that note, amen. We're going to pass the collection plate up. Well, Dr. Blunt, I want to thank you for sitting down and being a guest and a friend of the Tinderbox podcast and talking about the Oikos Institute of Social Impact. And I'm going to give a closing of this because our audience has a little bit of an assignment sometimes at the end. So, the Tinderbox podcast, we are here again to share in the wisdom that is out here in our community. We have leaders and impact persons that have these wonderful ideas that can help us reimagine and imagine what we're supposed to do in the work and the purpose and the meaning that we have all been called for individually and collectively in community. And so I invite you at the end of the podcast to list 2 or 3 things that you learned from this interview that you're excited about questions that were posed, and about reflective time to spend to find out your why, and to hook up with other people who have a similar why to do the work that is social impact. And so until next time, I invite you to stay kindled and keep listening to the Tinderbox podcast as we raise marginalized voices and connect our community so that we can be living in liberation. And liberation means freedom, wellness, and well being. Stay kindled.